think people are kind of coming in and out, but we're going to get ready to go ahead and start with our last panel here. There's probably a lot of bathroom and caffeine breaks. Wayne, Leena, Claudiu, do you want to just come on up here, or okay? And Tom. Is Dr. Bernard in the house? Oh, he's in the back. Dr. Bernard, please report to the top, the front.
No sign. You do? Okay.
All right. In this last session, before we finished up for the official part of the day and then moved to poster viewing and reception activities, is that correct? During posters? Okay. All right, great. We want to just have a brief time with each director of each education research center. So again, if you're not that familiar with them, there's 18 across the U.S. And we have the opportunity to hear what is new and exciting things that have been happening this past year in each of the centers. So we'll start off with Dr. Bernard, that you're all familiar with, the Sunshine Education Center here at USF.
Yeah, it's probably an unfortunate relationship they're thinking, but yeah, so I'm, first of all, the charter was what's new, right, John? I first want to report that we have great stability in a number of our teaching programs. So I don't have to report terribly much new. The occupational medicine is steady. There's some internal negotiations with medicine. The HSE program is growing. That's good for us and good for the programs. Nursing has done a couple of new things that are I think worth noting, and one is that there's a general push from the MSN as an adult nurse practitioner into the Doctor of Nursing Practice, the DNP. So we're beginning to see a fundamental shift among our student population there. The Occupational Health Psychology program has embraced remote work, as many of us have. And seeing, article after article in the newspaper that they're not coming back. They're looking at what are the issues of remote work, and a steady line of research has been work-family balance and seeing how that works in a remote work environment. Personally, I can tell you that's more challenging than it was going to the office. The targeted research program has been working with hospitality, and that work continues. I started to look to what the issues with robots were, because that's one of the things that the program is considering, as more and more robots are working their way into the hospitality venue. And then the other is a theme that I see repeating in a number of areas with wearables. In other words, we've got a bunch of solutions in wearables looking for a problem, is the way I describe it. But these are coming, and where they become a useful adjunct to work, I think, is going to be a cutting edge effort. They're also looking at aging within the, or hope to be soon looking at aging in a collaboration with a NIOSH investigator. So and I will mention that if there's a couple of ergo trainees in any of the other centers, we might be interested in having a discussion about bringing them down for a couple months in the summer to do some work with as an interdisciplinary project. So if you know of any, please get in touch. A bit on a selfish note is that I have research programs going on, and I think there's a couple of fun areas that are doing, beginning to re-examine what it is that climatization means, and I think that might be ripe for re-examination as a work practice. Also obesity. There's some things about obesity and that are kind of conflicting stories in terms of how we thermoregulate. And in case you haven't heard, the population's getting obese. I'm starting to hear employers saying we've got people with a BMI of 50 and they're working in hot jobs, and I'm sitting there, how do you recommend dealing with exposure limits there? And then I too am looking at these wearables, and because in the heat stress area, there's a belief that these are going to be kind of a silver bullet, and I'm not seeing the evidence that it is as good as the exposure metrics that we do. In terms of professional development, we have a CE program, much like everybody else, but I think we're going to adventure into a new area with our Lifelong Learning Academy, and we're going to roll out the first one with occupational heat stress. And when we get that program wrapped up, we'll let the centers know, and we'd love to have some people attend and give us the feedback on it. Then we'll follow up with that on occupational health and safety management systems. Again, it's something we think is really where the future is going to push down severity and severity rates. And then the continuing problem with who teaches physical agents that has that expertise, and possibly pulling together experts in different areas to provide a segment so that we get a comprehensive physical agents course. With the pilot project research training, we are going to wrap that up next year. So our announcement will come soon. We're going to be looking for applications in the May time frame with a goal toward funding on July 1st. Once the funding's approved, and then it's got to be wrapped up in a year. And I heard a lot of good ideas about what might be good pilot projects. Yesterday, a couple of them. One was, I think, a Delphi kind of approach to what can be a standard reporting system that will be comprehensive and durable and robust. Another might be how it is that we do outreach and training and capture ticks and things of that sort. That came from yesterday. Today I have the one on, we know acute heat exposure has an effect on a fetus, but what does chronic heat stress, and is there a role in fetal development, might be an interesting topic. And then with just recently the panel this afternoon is maybe some sort of needs assessment for small farmers, when my eyes opened up about all of the issues that they have that might be worthwhile doing. Wrapping up, we have an interesting outreach program to try to attract undergraduates to occupational health and safety. And we have in the Honors College the performing arts and their health and safety. So their health and safety as a performer. And it's an interdisciplinary course, and it's generated interest in undergraduates coming up to our other program. And it's kind of a unique approach. And for the trainees, our trainees in the room, Alan Kent's going to be sending around signups, remember, for a couple of more high school outreach programs coming along. And then I think the last kind of new item is that the dean is finally beginning to succeed in easing me out of the role of director of the ERC. So we're going to have a leadership transition in the near future.
Okay, I'll just go down with the list of how we had it set up. So the next director to speak is the doppelganger for the minister who did my wedding years ago. He happens to be the director of the Central Appalachian Regional ERC and the director of the Southeast Center for Agricultural Health and Injury Prevention, Dr. Sanderson.
I had no idea who he was talking about there for a second. First of all, I just want to say how blessed I think we are to collaborate with such strong centers. This is really an amazing thing that we get along so well, we complement each other so well. We have to be nice to each other because some of our students will come to each other's universities and talk bad about us if we don't. So this has really been a fantastic opportunity for us over the last few years. I'm grateful for Tom and his team hosting us this year, and we look forward to seeing you all in Lexington next year. I'm going to talk about our ERC first, and we've had quite a few changes. One of the major changes is we moved to the College of Agriculture and Engineering a few years ago. We're in our third year, and that has been a great growth for our ag. 4 of our ag students are here, ag health and safety students, and that's been a real growth program for us with a wide variety of topics that they cover, and directly crosses over into our ag center, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Our nursing program changed. It added the DNP discipline. Dr. Heaton is a collaborator from UAB and does a course for us in that, and that has increased our recruitment for nurses and the good jobs that they can get. It's been a very popular degree. No other big changes other than we're up for renewal this year. We'll be in the same round as South Florida will be, except I think we're the only center that has an occupational athletic training program. In fact, our two first students are here. Jacob and Jennifer. Jennifer has a poster, and Jacob will be talking. Giving a presentation tomorrow afternoon. This came up from our collaborations with the manufacturing industry. They said, we have an awful lot of musculoskeletal injuries, and we think that people with the skills that athletic trainers have could help us roam around in our plants and head off some of these injuries and teach people how to better do their work, as well as to alert us to issues before they become major problems that have to be treated in a medical facility. And so we've been very excited. And they just won a major grant with the firefighters. I think they have presentations on that. It's a big coup for our program. So those are our outlines. We will hopefully be adding an occupational education group, but we have a really strong evaluation team from our College of Education. They've dramatically changed us. We're not the same center we were a few years ago by involving them and their expertise. The loss of our occupational medicine program was a big loss to us. We closed it this past summer. We're very disappointed in that. We have reached out to West Virginia University, which has a TPG. Chris Martin runs that, and he's eager to collaborate with us, but it's not the same as having our own program. So we're disappointed in that. But you want to show the next slide? I think what it does is it indicates that we are very interdisciplinary. We do a lot of interdisciplinary training. That's a major focus of ours. We're fortunate to have an IH program, an occupational safety program at EKU. They're here represented, and EKU is only about a 25-minute drive from us. We do get together for courses and a lot of field work. we're fortunate we have a lot of industry partners. These are just a few of the pictures. Of course, the coal mining industry is big in Central Appalachia, so we spend some time underground. We'll be underground here in a couple of weeks. I'll have a team of students underground. We do a lot with logging. Logging fatalities logging is one of the jobs with the highest fatality rate of any job in the country, particularly in our region because of cutting down big trees on slopes. And so we have a strong presence working with, and they tend to be very, very small businesses, 3, 4, or 5 workers, and so they don't have safety directors, and that's one of our focuses. Of course, in Kentucky, our new coal is the distillery industry, and we can't be more delighted than to be working with the distillery industry. And we have several programs working on ergonomic issues, injuries, and particularly with barreling, moving those big, heavy barrels around. We have a pretty strong aerosol science program looking at nanoparticles, both environmentally and occupationally. And so I think that gives a highlight of our field work. Next slide. Just to highlight a bit about our Ag Health and Safety Center, we were just renewed this past fall for another 5 years. And we've changed that center considerably. We have a farm safety stewardship program where we actually go out to the farms and do safety audits rather than just doing training. We're actually on site on the farms, and they will be, if they modify their safety practices, upgrade some of their equipment, things like that, then they're going to be given a safety certificate. We're hoping that the insurance industry will recognize their efforts in that regard and maybe reward them. We have a logging safety program with West Virginia University where they actually not only do they train the loggers in the Master Logger program in health and safety, they go out and do audits of them. And we do have insurance buy-in on that to cut their compensation and insurance rates for that program. That's a pretty exciting program that's been going on. Started out as a pilot grant, moved into a research program, has continued to grow and blossom. One of our big focus areas, and it started with the agriculture industry, but I think Paul Norod's here and he's going to be presenting on nurse suicide tomorrow. But we had a lot of our commodity groups, Cattlemen's Association, Grain Growers Association, Dairy Association, come to us and saying our biggest concern is suicide among our constituents. It's a very stressful occupation. And we're very concerned about this. And so we've had a major effort for the last 3-4 years now on farmer mental stress. And that became one of our major projects in the Ag Center. But it's a spinoff of that is that we're looking at mental stress and suicide related issues in a wide variety of industries. And so that's been a focus. And I think I'm not going to say much about vectors. We covered vectors all day yesterday. So it's one of our research programs that we've developed. But we do a lot of other outreach activities. There's a picture there of us. We have occasional grain engulfments. When I was a kid, the grain bins were pretty small. I mean, they weren't a big deal. Now you drive on these farms, they got these massive grain bins, and occasionally the farmers have to go in there and they get engulfed in the grain. It's often a recovery operation, not a rescue operation. But we have been training throughout our region emergency responders on how to extract people when they become engulfed in grain. It's not an easy operation, and we've been involved in it now for a number of years. Next slide. Yeah, I think this just is, I can kind of stop here. I just had a couple of slides on the logging project and I think the farmer mental health project. So I think I'll stop at that point and turn it over to someone else. Thanks.
Next we have Dr. Claudiu Lungu from Deep South Center at University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Hi everybody, and thank you to our hosts, Tom Bernard and everybody from University of South Florida for having us here. I'm really happy that we survived. This is the 6th year when we do this, and we haven't killed each other yet, so that's fantastic. I think we have a great honestly, I think that's a great thing. It's really showing that we can collaborate, and there are so many things in which we are really complementing each other. So I think it's a fantastic venue, and I hope to continue and actually to improve our collaboration through the next years. So the Deep South Center is doing well. We just got renewed last year. We got full-time renewal. All our programs got renewed. The amount which requested, which never happened before. So we have to thank you, NIOSH, of course, but I think we have to thank our folks who did work on all of our programs. So we have 3 academic programs: occupational health nursing, occupational safety and health, and ergonomics at Auburn University, and industrial hygiene at UAB. There were some changes. Mark Shaw is the newest faculty, no, not the newest, but he's one of the newest faculty at Auburn, and because he looks like a student, we decided to give him some more things to do, so he became the director of the Occupational Safety and Health Program and Ergonomics, and on top of that, he became director of the Injury Prevention Program, so we hope he is going to grow some white hair in the future. Besides that, nursing program got some changes. Karen Heaton, who is the current and acting director, she passed the directorship to a couple of new investigators, and I don't know who is here. Oh, sorry, I cannot see very well to a distance. Karen decided that she needs to grow some other investigators to achieve higher success in occupational health nursing. So she's going to step down, and this program is continue to grow and is very strong. Actually, starting 2 years ago, they have the DMP and the doctoral program in nursing, so there are only 2 programs. You guys don't have the master program anymore, right? Auburn is also growing, even if Mark is now the head of 2 programs. They have a very strong program, and their research is fantastic. So Mark is working with the Office of the Army for some important projects in which they are looking at exoskeleton. He's also working on I would say, total workers' health related projects, and he's going to work with some researchers from UAB on that. The industrial hygiene program, we have some issues there because we changed our program from MPH to MSPH, and apparently having the science thing in that doesn't attract too many students. So our enrollment decreased quite a bit. We hope to do some magic and change our name, actually, and attract more students. We have some interesting research going on, some new research. Dr. O, my colleague, is working on hand-arm vibration among folks who are working groundkeepers. She's working also at designing some new instruments for better choosing safety glasses. So actually she's putting together an app through which one can really scan their own face and then choose the best fitting eyewear system for them. We are working on continue to work on respiratory protection. We are trying to develop some new respirators to be used for folks like firefighters, which don't use any type of respirator. So these are going to be something based on activated carbon fibers, which are going to be very light, and they are going to provide protection against particulate matter and volatile organic compounds. Another area in which we are working is development of new sampling sampling device for gases and vapors based on carbon nanotubes. We started to patent that, and we still need to do more work on testing those devices in the field. We completed the lab testing. I want to talk a little bit about our interdisciplinary work. We have two interdisciplinary classes in which our students go on site visit in the first semester, and then in the second semester, usually in the spring, they identify together with the site operation managers a health and safety issue, and they come up with a solution for that issue. And this program has been fantastically successful because, you know, many sites, small businesses or even larger businesses, they don't have the capacity of hiring people to solve a relatively not complicated health and safety issues. So our students come with solutions for that, and they present at the end of the semester to the management and the health and safety folks on those sides, and that's fantastic. And the students get a lot of experience for that. I have to say that most of them hate this class in the beginning because we make them work, engineers with nurses and IH. Who can work like that? Nobody. So eventually they get used, and you know, they admit that that's the best course they ever had. So we are continuing that line of work with the interdisciplinary, and actually this past semester we were approached by one of the leading pipe cast iron facility in Alabama, and they want to collaborate with us and to basically reduce their injury incidence rate. So this site is from 1905. It's more than 100 years old. Obviously, they have a lot of things got modernized, and they have automatization, but still, you know, there are a lot of folks there working, and they have a tremendous amount of injuries and illnesses. So we are trying to actually work with them and reduce the number of injuries. Our outreach program is still going very strong. We have the Summer Institute, in which we are inviting undergraduate students. Now we are trying to focus on historically black colleges and universities in the area and try to bring students from those universities to work with us. We have, additionally to that, we have a program for the high school students. It's called Occupational Health and Safety Influencers. So they are we bring them in and we teach basics on occupational health and safety and try to give them a taste why it's okay to not think always to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. Health and safety sometimes is fine. So we try to do this. Our C program is also very strong. We just did a rough calculation, and we are touching every year more than 2,000 people through our CE program. So I think we are doing very well. We want to diversify our offering of courses, but for now I think we are doing well. And again, our PPRT program, pilot project program is going strong. We are having actually now a call for proposals, so we are waiting for your proposals, guys. It's due March 17, I guess. And that's about it, about the Deep Center. Thank you.
And last but not least is Dr. Leena, Nylander-French, who's the director of our center, North Carolina Occupational Safety and Health Education Research Center.
And my group got me a slide so that I stay on task. I'm notoriously slipping off, so and injuring myself in the process. That's why I have Eric Ryan, who tries to stop me injuring myself. Anyway, so Tom, thank you for having us here. It was a pleasure to come back here after first time I think it was 2018, you called me saying, we need you here. And that was wonderful. It was really great to be here. We went to Alabama after that, and then we took a hiatus for a couple of years. So I have pleasure to actually inform you that we survived. We didn't kill each other, and we survived. And we actually have grown. It's very exciting to be here to see all the work that you guys have actually done over the past 3 years, particularly the pilot projects at Thrive-In. That really shows that NIOSH needs to pay attention to us, the Southerners here. We need more funding to do this really great job. We need more R01 funding, R20 funding, and so on. So we will carry on that message to NIOSH and also to our legislators. But what about our program? So we are strong, 47th year of going in North Carolina. So we were one of the original ERCs funded by NIOSH in 1976. And I'm not that old though, so yeah, I've been around for a little while, but yeah, although I got gray hair now, so that's coming, whoever got more responsibilities. I took helm of this in 2018. We had massive changes in our program, a lot of retirements, and so we started actually working systematically to really see where is the field going. I'm industrial hygienist. I want to work with occupational medicine people. That's what I did in my old country, or to my 2 old countries actually. And then safety and ergonomics has always been one of my favorite subjects as well. So we have in can I get the next slide, please? So we really have a 76, yes. Next slide, please. That is a schematic. It's kind of scary. So we are actually a pretty large center. We have Duke University. We have North Carolina State University. We have multiple departments in our school represented in this. We added targeted research training in our last renewal, and we have a very fantastic outreach and continuing education that John Staley started 2019 to really improve and go forward. The next slide, please. So this shows us who we are actually. So we have occupational exposure science and occupational epidemiology at the School of Public Health. Occupational medicine is at the Duke University. Occupational safety and ergonomics is at NC State. And then we also have total worker health graduate certificate program, and you will hear from Maya Leff more about it tomorrow, I believe. Next slide, please. We really do a lot of focus on exposures, industrial hygiene, and our new focus has been in the diverse and underrepresented individuals in the occupational health and safety. We try to align all our training and our pilot projects to really target the occupational health and safety initiatives by NIOSH, the NORA areas, and in the high-risk occupations. Next slide, please. The pilots are our bread and butter. We really want to get this going. We have had this when we went for a renewal last year. We had 22 pilot projects funded over the past 5 years. on different manufacturing, healthcare, first responders, vulnerable workers, occupational injuries, occupational exposures, so forth. You have actually heard from 2 of our awardees this time, and tomorrow I think Anne-Marie Walton will be talking. So it's fantastic to have our pilot project awardees here among us. Next slide, please. With outreach and education, I will let John Staley really talk about it. He knows it much better than I do. But from that, we have actually then grown into a really important part that we did over the pandemic. But what we really want to do in CE, we have a Winter Institute coming up in next week. So we offer a couple of new courses there. I'm teaching industrial toxicology, which is a new one there. So if anybody still wants to sign up for toxicology, please sign up. Then we have military and business relationships as well, where we go and actually target specific courses for those populations. Next slide, please. So Winter Institute, then we have all these online courses that John has started putting out there. Ethics course and fundamental of industrial hygiene. Those are probably our best online courses so far, and quite many are taken. We found out that those who want to prep for the industrial hygiene certification, they really benefit from that fundamentals of industrial hygiene courses. And then we are planning on putting a prep course together for CIH exam. Next slide, please. So go to our website. And then, like I said, on the COVID time, we went past 3 years. We are really trying to claw ourselves back up from doing research and education. Our efforts really went to help North Carolina, and we created a prospect project where we helped 53 businesses, of whom 4 got very detailed information and help from us during the COVID times. And nice to report, actually, we just submitted a first paper for publication how we did it. So soon, hopefully, you can read it all in the publication. Next. And then, of course, what we also did over the pandemic was we were able to secure our first Total Worker Health Center of Excellence. And that is the 2nd year in functioning. So check out online what we are doing. Fantastic work on firefighters. Can't even remember what all we have, but it's there. And then we have a pilot project call coming up in the fall. What we do on that is that the call goes out early summer. We hold meetings with awardees, potential awardees, and discuss the total worker health project. So we're trying to guide them through this total worker health approach that they could actually propose as a pilot project. So take a look at the website for Total Worker Health and contact us if you have questions. Next slide. And then we are, of course, going with the NIOSH folks with the future of work. It's ever changing. We are really trying, like the pilot project proposals, we're trying to mentor young investigators to come in to the occupational health and safety area. We want to put a lot of evidence-based research out there, and so that we can eventually change public policy. And then we really enjoy the collaboration between the different centers. UNC, we have many different kinds of centers in UNC looking at different parts of occupational industrial health and community organizations. So trying to disseminate information as much as possible to really get information out there for the occupational health and safety, the work that we do. I think I stopped right there.
We do have one more presenter online.
Oh.
We do have one more presenter online. So
we do?
sorry, I know we're almost out of time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unexpected, but that's wonderful. Who do we have? Is it Dr. Morris or Dr. Kane or a surprise? Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just waiting for them to load the slides. Carlos, oh, there we go. Okay, so next slide, Carlos. So our center spans disciplines: public health, environmental science, ag science, medicine, veterinary medicine, and clinical and translational sciences. Our center is focusing on the unique challenges faced by farm worker and fisher communities in the Southeast US and the Caribbean. So we're dealing with hurricane vulnerability, housing inequities and residential isolation, air quality, and heat stress and kidney function. We are in our second cycle, so we're a pretty young center. And so we just received our renewal this year. We're about 5 months into year 1 of cycle 2. Next slide. And our geographical region has not changed. So we stay the same. The only difference is that we're more engaged with Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands this round, which is going to bring another unique ball of challenges in terms of hurricane season coming in. So we're excited to be partnering with universities in Puerto Rico and the USVI. Next slide. We have the research core, outreach core, and they've been very, very productive. We've been publishing off of research findings from cycle 1. We have 2 new research projects being led on cycle 2, so they're just getting running. Our outreach core continues to disseminate findings from research and to generate new educational materials with community partners and our Community Scientific Advisory Board. We also host a State of the Science meeting annually, which has a different focus every year. And so that's part of our dissemination process and networking with regional and national partners, and now international partners. We're inviting more people internationally to these programs. Next slide, please. Our first, we have 2, as I mentioned, we have 2 research projects led by Dr. Christopher Volpe and Dr. William Hogan. Chris Volpe is looking at renal disease in Florida farm workers. And he's also using a population in collaboration with the University of Colorado, looking at Guatemalan sugarcane workers. So chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology seems unique to this group of Guatemalan sugarcane workers. And he wants to see if the same thing's happening in our Florida workers, being that we have the same climate issues. Next slide, please. You'll see these are Chris's aims. Next slide. These are our 2 new research projects. The second research project that was funded in our research core is being led by Dr. William Hogan, and he's looking at electronic health records and specifically the systematic identification of farm workers and fishers in our electronic health records system. So we are collaborating with a network of migrant health centers and federally qualified health centers across the state, and hopefully eventually the region. It'll have to grow. It's not an easy project, but it's a very exciting one. So we can really get a baseline and knowledge of the state of health for our farm workers in Florida. So that's one unique option in surveillance that we have this round that we didn't have last round. Next slide, please. We are led by a scientific advisory board. This round has 8 members on that board spanning different disciplines: biostatistics, child and family health, environmental health sciences. We have members of the French and Health Research Centers. So that'll be a great way, expanding that. Tom Bernard's on our advisory board. That'll be a great way for us to help monitor progress and to get really sound advice when we're struggling or if we face any challenges. We also have a pilot feasibility program and offer pilot funding. We will be rolling that out this summer. So I'll be reaching out to everyone with a release of a funding announcement. And then our State of the Science meeting is coming up. It's actually next week, March 6th and 7th. Can we go to the next slide? And it'll be on the impacts of climate events on agricultural health and safety. And you can't really see the link there, but if you go to our website, it's www.sccahs.org. You can find details on our State of the Science meeting. And those are our updates.
All right, well, that's a good way to finish up today. We're getting ready to now move into, there's going to be a reception. Is that in here, back there? Back in the poster area, and the poster presenters will be there presenting their posters. So please stop by, take a look, and enjoy.